Sun-soaked beaches and rockets to the stars. Florida's Space Coast is the subject of episode 114 of The Family Vacationer, and it starts right now.
Welcome to The Family Vacationer with Rob and Danny. The go-to podcast for families on the move.
Welcome, friends. I'm Rob.
And I'm Danny, and this is episode 114 of The Family Vacationer. We're really glad to have you guys with us today. Last week we did an episode entitled Cruising 101. We gave you all kinds of great information on cruising on a modern cruise ship. So you'll definitely want to go back and give that episode a listen. Now, this week, we're talking Florida's Space Coast. Now, this area has it all. They got the beautiful beaches, of course, one of the nation's busiest cruise ports, rocket launches that will really take your breath away, and so much more. And it's all 45 minutes from Orlando. Today's episode is sponsored by Beachside Hotel and Suites in Cocoa Beach. You can find them online at www.beachsidehotelcocobeach.com. So make sure and visit their website when you're visiting the area.
72 miles of coastline, the Kennedy Space Center, Brevard Zoo, the Indian River Lagoon. There is so much to see and do in this beautiful area. If you're a nature-loving family, the area around Port Canaveral is the perfect place to have or extend your vacation. The world's largest manatee and sea turtle habitats are close by, with one of the world's most diverse ecosystems. There is no end to your family's adventure here, whether that's your travel destination or if you're visiting on the way to a cruise through Port Canaveral. We talked last episode about arriving a day or two early for your cruise just to make sure you make it and there's less stress. This area makes doing that an easy decision. Take in all the area has to offer and then jump on one of the newest cruise ships in the industry. Or you can visit the area for a one-of-a-kind vacation that offers beautiful beaches and the ability to take in one of 80 estimated rocket launches on the books for 2023. This area just does not disappoint. Joining us today to talk more about Florida's Space Coast is Peter Kranis. Peter's a native of Melbourne, Florida, and the executive director of the Space Coast Office of Tourism. Peter, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. So let's get a little lay of the land here. What areas make up Florida's Space Coast?
Yeah, so Florida's Space Coast is actually Brevard County in the state of Florida. We're 72-mile long county that's just east of Orlando, and we're right on the Atlantic Ocean. And it runs from Titusville and the Kennedy Space Center on the far north, all the way down to Palm Bay and Sebastian Inlet on the south. And it also includes Melbourne, Cocoa Beach, Port Canaveral is also part of our area.
And you're a native of Melbourne, correct?
Yeah, I grew up in Melbourne. I went to high school and junior college here, and spent a few years in Orlando. Went over to University of Central Florida for my undergraduate and graduate work, and then actually spent about 16 years with Visit Orlando, which is the Convention and Visitors Bureau in that town. And missed the Space Coast. I missed, being over by the beach. And so I'm back and loving every minute of it.
Awesome. Yeah. So, all right, this almost sounds like a dumb question, but what makes the Florida Space Coast a family travel destination?
Yeah, what's so amazing about it is there's so many fun outdoor water and beach activities. Of course, we're right on the beach, so we've got that going for us. But we also have a world-class zoo, which I'll talk about, Kennedy Space Center. Of course, we're known for rocket launches. This is where, the American space program first started, and now we are back launching American astronauts from American soil into space again. So that's amazing. But we've got a lot of other things going on. We've got a lot of great museums, historic homes, a lot of family-oriented activities. So it's a great place for families to come and vacation.
Absolutely. So Port Canaveral's right there, and cruising's obviously a big part of the community. And we did a cruising episode, Cruising 101 last week, just tried to get people to answer some of the questions first time cruisers might have, one of the things that we talked about, I'm a travel agent. I always suggest if you're going on a cruise, get there a day early so you don't have to
Yes.
worry about, trying to get there. The flight gets in, you get right to the port.
Right.
What are some things that families that do that can enjoy in Cocoa Beach and the surrounding areas?
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback on what you were saying, people often will fly into MCO, which is Orlando,
Mhm.
and mistakenly stay in Orlando the night before the cruise. And that's really what they should be doing, is they should come over, stay at the beach
Yeah.
the night before, and then when they wake up, they're going to be 10 to 15 minutes away from the port. And so it's
Right.
not a rush to get to the port and get checked in and all of those things.
Right.
But while you're here, whether you come a day early or you decide to stay post cruise for a couple of days, there's so much to do. There's a lot of beach and water activities. There are boat tours that you can take. You can do a kayak tour. You can learn how to surf. There's just so much to do around the Cocoa Beach and Cape Canaveral area, which are all super close to the port. So you really don't have to move around a whole lot in terms of transferring. You just get off the ship, go to your hotel, and then you can start having fun right away.
Yeah. So what kind of activities are available at the Kennedy Space Center?
Yeah, the Kennedy Space Center is amazing. It has a visitor complex that over 1 million visitors come every year. There are displays like the Saturn V rocket in the Apollo Center. So this is the rocket that took us to the moon the first time around. It also has Atlantis, the space shuttle Atlantis, which flew 33 missions into space. And now they have a new attraction they just opened up called Gateway that has rides and many current space vehicles like a Falcon 9 rocket, which SpaceX, which is one of the big launch companies here, owned by a guy people may know, Elon Musk, that has taken literally thousands of satellites into orbit. So you can go right there and see that. Last year, we had 57 launches from the Space Coast, and this year they're expecting to be over 80. So it's very likely, with a little bit of advanced planning, you can actually see a launch. And the best way to do that is you can either download our launch app, which is called the Launch Console, or you can go to visitspacecoast.com and you can click on the launches button on the top right of the page. And there's a schedule, and it's always updated, and we always have new updates. Of course, we call them launch attempts for a reason. Sometimes there's a scrub for weather, technical things like that, but there's always a new launch coming around the corner. So the calendars really provide an excellent resource for that.
And so I was going to ask you if the launches have decreased since the privatization of space exploration, but it sounds like we're picking it up.
Yeah, it went the other direction. So last year was a record year. So even in the peak of Apollo, with all the things that they were doing back during the Apollo missions, we exceeded that. So private space, the privatization, NASA's still very involved. There's still a lot of programs that they have. They have the International Space Station where they need crew and equipment to get up there. You've got the Artemis program, which is going back to the moon. So there's still a lot of NASA type projects, but then there's SpaceX and all these other companies doing private launches, putting satellites up, doing, just all kinds of different programs. So, yeah, I mean, it's been super busy from that perspective, and it's just going to get busier and busier. They're expecting at some point to have hundreds of launches in a year. So, pretty much a launch a day.
When are we going back to the moon?
Yeah, really.
So the first step of that was to send the Artemis rocket and actually circle the moon, and they did that. They just did that last year.
Yeah.
There's going to be another test later this year of that project, and right now their estimate is 2025
Oh,
is when
wow.
they're looking to put boots on the moon. So only a few short years away, but there's a number of steps in that process, as you can imagine. It's
Yeah.
it's a very complex process, and they want to make sure they get it right, of course. So there's going to be some crewed launches where there'll be tests leading up to that, and those are exciting. Those are really exciting to see, because those are big rockets. The Artemis is actually going to be, when they fully load it with all of the equipment and the capsule on top, it's actually going to be bigger than the Apollo, which was the largest rocket had ever launched in our history. So
Wow.
These are going to be some big rockets going up, and it's very exciting to be here when you're watching a rocket launch, and you feel the ground shake. It's something to behold.
Yeah, now you can just easily look up when those are going to happen.
Exactly.
That's amazing. I love it.
That is amazing. I could talk about space all day. Let's talk about events and festivals, though. What events and festivals are going on at the Space Coast that may be of interest to traveling families?
Sure. Well, first of all, spring. We're coming into springtime here in our area. I don't know. Up north it's still cold and snowy, but down here we consider February spring. So, but it's a great time because we have all kinds of different things going on. There's an air show in Cocoa Beach on April 15th and 16th. There's the Thunder on Cocoa Beach boat races, which is a P1 level boat races, world-class boats. Basically the Daytona 500 of boat racing, May 18th to 21st. And then there's a lot of great festivals, food festivals. The famous Grant Seafood Festival is coming up. And again, on our website, if you click on the events section, there's an events calendar, and we've got it all planned out for you. And there's really something for everyone. It's a great time to be coming down.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, you're local. What are some places or activities that are those hidden gems, things that people may miss when they're coming to the area? What do they need to know?
Yeah, I mentioned the Brevard Zoo, and it really is a hidden gem. It was named one of the top 5 zoos in the United States by USA Today, and has everything from giraffes that you can feed to a new display of lions. They got 3 new lions. It's the only zoo where you can actually take a kayak tour past the animals. And then during the summer, the Space Coast, as you go into summer, the Space Coast, as the water heats up, it's one of the few places you can actually see bioluminescence in the river, where the water glows at night due to the type of organism that lives in the water. When it heats up and you paddle it and you put your hand in it, it glows. And you can take a regular boat ride, or you can actually take a kayak tour to see that. And then the other thing that we're known for is we're one of the largest turtle nesting populations in our hemisphere. And you can go out on a turtle walk at night, and they'll take you out, and you can actually watch a turtle laying their eggs on our beach.
Cool.
So it's really unique. There's a couple of really unique things that people don't always know about, but those are kind of some of the things that I always recommend to people.
Cool. Well, one of the other questions that we always get about every area that we talk about, where do we stay? So what are some good lodging options for families in the area?
Sure. Well, first of all, there's over 110 hotels on the Space Coast, and there's a lot of beachfront and beachside properties. So that's one of the questions I would always ask as a family is, do you want beach access? If that's something that's important to you, then you want something that's beachfront. If you're okay with crossing the street and going to the beach from that perspective and just walking, beach access is what you're looking for. And I would say, you have Cape Canaveral, which is just south of the port, and then Cocoa Beach, and then Melbourne and the beaches along Melbourne. And those are the places where you really want to look to stay. The other thing that you can do, if obviously you could plan with your local travel agent, but we have on our website, we have a hotel search, and you can also look on there. And then the other thing that I'll say is, and it's become very popular with Airbnb and VRBO, is we have thousands of vacation rental properties, everything from condos, beachfront condos, to single family homes that you can rent. So I would just, I would check with your favorite vacation rental app for those, because there's, a couple that are really, really good. And I know people have their favorites. So you could check those out. But we're really, over the last 3 or 4 years, we've really seen a huge growth in the number of vacation rental properties. So that's a neat way to go if you've got a big family.
Nice.
Yeah, one of the things we talked about last week too was a lot of the area hotels there will offer a package where they'll pick you up at the airport, you can stay, go on your cruise, and then they take you back to the airport. And that includes our sponsor for this episode, Beachside Hotel and Suites there. They'll pick you up at the hotel because, the Orlando airport is about 45 minutes away?
Yeah, it's literally like 45 minutes away, right down the what we call the beach line. So it's, very, very easy to get here from there.
So they'll pick you up, let you stay the night before your cruise, get on the cruise, and they'll take you back to the airport. Or if you drive in, you can leave your car there. So that's right. A neat thing too for a lot of the local hotels.
Yeah, that's a great property. They got a little lazy river and a nice little.
They had me at Lazy River.
Yep. Yeah, it's a nice property. Yeah, there's a few like that, and one of the things, like I said, one of the nice things is you get off your cruise ship. If you're not ready to go back home, you want to just chill out at the beach for a couple of days. That's a great opportunity to do that here.
For sure.
All right, so we want to talk about the Space Coast food scene.
Yeah,
I'm assuming the seafood is really good in that area, but what are those restaurants that families just don't want to miss?
Yeah, well, first of all, just talking about seafood, I'm a big seafood fan. I grew up here. I love, there's nothing like sitting beachside or by the river and having a fish taco and, a cold beverage. I mean, it just, there's nothing like that here in the Space Coast. And I think that's an element that, bringing your family, you want to be able to have that family experience. That's a huge element. But one of the things that's really changed about the Space Coast the last couple of years is it's really become a hot dining scene. There's all kinds of cuisine, really nice French restaurants, Cajun, barbecue, steakhouses, a lot of mom and pop. So you don't have to do the chain thing. I mean, a lot of people, they do their, I'm not going to name names, but they'll go to their go-to place. It's the same restaurant in your own neighborhood. So you feel comfortable. You don't have to do that here. There's a lot of, privately owned restaurants that, you go to like downtown Cocoa Beach or downtown Melbourne, and you have all these great options. In Titusville, there's a famous restaurant called Dixie Crossroads. It's known for Florida rock shrimp. I've never had Florida rock shrimp. It's like a mini lobster. They serve it all with the drawn butter and all of that. There's James Beard Award winners, and really any kind of cuisine you can think of. So, again, our website, we've got a search tool that you can look for any kind of food you're interested in. And then the kind of the secret sauce I like to say at the end is, if you have a sweet tooth, we have what we call the Space Coast Ice Cream Tour. And it's basically a map from, again, 72 miles long county, from the north all the way to the south. You can follow this map and you can find all kinds of great places with fantastic ice cream dishes. And if you want to try several of them and check them off your list, you can do that too. So it's a lot of fun.
I'm sold.
Yep.
Well, finally, let's put you on the spot. When you have family and friends that are visiting the area, where do you like to take them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have to tell you, this isn't really interesting. Most ports are very industrial in nature. If you've ever been to like Fort Lauderdale and Miami, they've got a lot of big ships, but they also have, a lot of industrial kind of cargo areas.
Right.
Port Canaveral actually has a great little restaurant area. And I like to bring people there because you can sit at one of half a dozen restaurants and watch the cruise ships go out the channel. And it's really cool. It's a neat experience. The other thing I like to do is there's a number of restaurants right on, like I said, either on the beach or on the river. And there's just nothing like sitting to me, sitting on water, eating fish, eating a seafood taco or or shrimp or, having something cold to drink. I don't know. There's just something about that. So I like to take, when I have friends or family come into town, it's usually one of those things that I'm doing.
Awesome. Yeah, seafood tastes great anywhere, but it tastes better when there's a body of water close.
Right.
For sure.
It just feels like the right thing to do.
Exactly.
It does. Well, for more information on visiting Florida Space Coast, consult your travel advisor and go to visitspacecoast.com. Peter, thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. My pleasure.
Hey, everyone. If you're ready to plan your next family vacation, call my dad. He would love to help you as a certified travel agent. He never charges a fee to help you plan your vacation. Email him at rjones@starstufftravel.com. Get started planning your vacation today.
Well, that does it for this week's show. Join us next week as we take a look at Wisconsin Dells, the water park capital of the world. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to The Family Vacationer. Make sure and subscribe to hear more of Rob and Danny.